Times of the government shutdown, we had minimal impacts here at Tampa International ourselves, and that's thanks to the support and the dedication and all the pouring of the community support for these federal partners. And it was a phenomenal effort, and I can't thank you all enough for everything to minimize the impact to our travelers here in the Tampa Bay region. So as we continue into our Thanksgiving holiday period, today begins that part. It's 12 days. Runs through December 1st. We're expecting approximately 80,000 passengers a day, and with November 30th, our projected busiest day with 85,000 passengers. So we want to remind everybody that if you're flying domestically, arrive at least 2 hours prior, and if you're flying internationally, at least 3 hours prior. We can expect busier ticket lines at the ticket counters. We continue to work on multiple construction projects at the authority and across the airport, including our shuttle replacement program, where 3 of our air sides of our 4 have 1 shuttle running. In particular, our Airside E, during those early morning hours, if you fly Delta, Frontier, or Air Canada, you can expect a little bit longer of a wait due to the volume of departures at that time. The roadsides and the curbs will be congested. We have a lot of families that are dropping off and picking up, so you can expect the extended traffic in those areas. Again, come early. If you have loved ones you're picking up, please use the cell phone lot that we have just off the parkway prior to getting to the main terminal. Also, we have our Blue Express curbs and our Red Express curb that just opened up, so those are huge, valuable tools that you can use to pick up and drop off people if you're not checking bags. Parking will be tight. We expect to maximize our parking. It's a really good idea to reserve your parking. You go on Tampa International's website and book that parking ahead of time. If you're returning a rental car, we encourage you to use a remote bag check that is at the rental car center, and then take our Sky Connect for about the 1.5 mile ride to the terminal. It's much easier without your bags, and that's free to the person to check the bag. It goes right to the airline. And then, speaking of the airline, if you have questions about timing and is your flight delayed or is it canceled, we encourage you to check directly with your airline. They will have the most up-to-date information. And with that, I'd like to introduce my partner in crime, our Federal Security Director, Kirk Skinner.
Thank you, Ben. Good morning, everybody. This has been a eventful period of time for us here at TSA. I brought some of our officers along today, as well as our Deputy Federal Security Director, Charles Miller, and the Assistant Federal Security Director for Screening, Dave Stewart. As I understand it, we started getting paychecks today, so I think everybody's happy about that. What I can say about the upcoming holiday season, Ben covered a lot of it. From our perspective, I just want to remind the travelers, check your bags carefully before you pack. Make sure it's entirely empty. We've had over 200 firearms come through this year, which is not good for the airport or for the passenger. The caution that you take when you're packing your bag will ensure that you know where your weapon is and it's not in your bags when you show up at the airport. So that's highly recommended. Also, I remind everyone that you can go to tsa.gov, and we have a section on there, Ask TSA. If you have questions about what's authorized to bring through the checkpoint, you can get an answer there, and you can get information about the screening process, as well as about pre-check. If you don't have it, I highly recommend it. It's very useful and it's very fast. I'd also remind everyone that our ticketing document checker, we now have Real ID. So if you have it, just ensure that you bring it with you. It expedites the process. If you don't have Real ID, we're able to reconcile that when you get to the checkpoint. The traffic for us, and of course we're concerned with departures, we're expecting that starting the day before Thanksgiving, we'll probably start to see 40,000 plus numbers. And as Ben said, we expect those numbers to continue all the way through the Christmas season and New Year's. So it's going to be busy. And to that point, I do recommend that you come at least an hour and a half early. Our teams out on the checkpoints are very good. We typically have wait times of around 10 to 15 minutes, but during the holiday season it can get a little bit longer. And if there's any issues that we can't handle, then you could end up with 20-minute wait times. We very rarely ever see anything as close to 30. But you should be prepared. Come early. That way you can come through the checkpoint without any stress and know that you're going to make it to your gate on time and off to see your family and friends. I want to bring Dave Stewart up for just a second. Dave, you want to talk a little bit about the operation and some of the enhancements that we've got?
Oh, absolutely. So as was covered previously in the year, there's a few enhancements we've introduced this past year. Most notably is our computed tomography X-ray equipment, which is now on every checkpoint, which really enhances the customer or the passenger experience greatly. Many things can be left in your bag that previously had to be removed, as well as speeding up the process to a great degree. Of course, we still have our pre-check lanes. Oh, excuse me. We still have our pre-check lanes for those passengers who opt to go that route. Another enhancement that we've added earlier this year was our family lanes, which we have on every checkpoint as well, that allow families traveling with smaller children, 12 and under, to be able to experience a slightly less harried experience as they go through the checkpoint wait period. So we've done a number of things to speed up the process, enhance the passenger experience, and we hope that that will ease the burden during this holiday season.
We'll open it up to any questions right now, and then I'll point out, some of the people behind you are going to be working on Thanksgiving and the other holidays, and from our maintenance, the guest experience, terminal ops.
Yeah, this is our team. So these are our representatives. We got our guest experience folks here. These are our leaders, our terminal operations, more guest, and then our maintenance team. We also have our airfield team. There are a multitude of organizations, just like any other organization. We're a tiny little city, so we have to have an occupation and a trade for everything. And so they're all going to be here. They're going to be here during Thanksgiving. They'll be here during the holiday, the winter break, the Christmas break, the New Year's, and they're there to serve the community. And they work really hard. I'm really proud of them. Yes, the Friday partners too, absolutely. So I'll open up any questions you guys have.
So the number, can you repeat that one more time, the number of passengers? Yeah, the number of passengers expected to pass through the airport.
Yeah, so the question is the number of passengers expected to pass through this year. We are looking relatively similar to last year, the numbers that we are projecting. Those numbers, and that's about 80,000, so 40,000 in, 40,000 out. That's the number that we're approximately looking at with a peak of about 85. But to your question, the numbers are very similar, plus or minus a 0.5% or so of what we saw from last year's Thanksgiving time period. Yes. So we have seen all of that clear up, and I'll defer to my FAA partners and the airlines and TSA, but we do not expect to have any of that residual left over. As you said, the government's reopened. We are back to normal operations. We did have what was complicated that our team worked through was we were down to a single runway operation for the past few weeks, months because of construction. But our FA team and our ops team did a fantastic job mitigating through that. So we are fully up and running, ready for the holidays, and good to go.
Kirk, did you want to address it? Are you guys should go for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, so for TSA, I can say that throughout the shutdown, our entire team came to work. We experienced none of the slowdowns, none of the issues with call-outs that other organizations and other airports have seen. And my hat's off to the officers here at Tampa and at St. Pete Clearwater. They just did a great job, and the public helped with some of that. We got over $10,000 in donations with gift cards that helped put gas in their cars and food on the table, as well as retail establishments here at the airport, to include the Marriott that provided food. I believe the airport also provided food, for that matter. I don't expect that we're going to see any issues with staffing. The holiday period for us is always a challenge, but in terms of staffing, as long as we've got the officers to keep the lanes open, the traveling public's not going to have any issues. And to that point, I would just say, if you're flying, I know it's going to be a stressful experience for you. It always is. But our officers are here to ensure that that process takes place effectively and efficiently, and that we ensure there's no threats, and we'll do our best to make that process smooth without any frustrations. But invariably, there's always something that goes wrong. Passengers that lose their ID, or they don't know where their cell phone's at. Our officers are very good at assisting with those things and making sure that everybody gets to their gate and on board the aircraft, and they're able to go spend time with their loved ones. So, is that good?
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I will echo just one was to add on to what Kirk said. The FAA, very similar sentiment to the staffing that showed up. Our local FAA team, they had no impacts. Our Customs and Border Patrol, they were there. The stuff that you saw throughout the community, the other country, there was downstream effects because of the national air system, and you saw some of the cancellations from the national air system. But this community really stepped up proactively to support our federal partners. And Kirk named a few, and since he named a few, I did want to recognize that the United Way Suncoast and Feeding Tampa Bay and our authority team, we had a leader, one of our senior managers, Shannon Booz, that stepped up and started a coordination process when we first had the anticipation of the government shutdown. And between United Way Suncoast and Feeding Tampa Bay, rallied the community, created a one-stop resource website that had all the assets. So, and I'll give you some examples. Tico Food and Paper Products, Feeding Tampa Bay opened up some of their distribution centers to alleviate some of those concerns. Utility companies such as Tico froze the bills and any kind of fees that would happen for the federal employees. Schools gave free lunches. PTSA, or PSTA, the public transit for Pinellas County and Hart, were free bus rides. We had donations from Delta, Publix, Columbia Group, and then the Aviation Authority helped donate gas to different partners, and food, and whether it's pizza and the like. So we were very involved from the very beginning on coordinating and making sure these teams got what they had ahead of time. And we owe it to this community. We're part of this community, and this community really came through to make sure that any kind of impacts were mitigated so that our federal partners could come to work and ensure we had a smooth, secure, and safe operation.
Is there any increase in burnout among the federal employees? Are they still feeling that extra stress following the government shutdown, or is the paycheck coming in today making them all feel a little bit better?
That does make them feel better. I know it makes me feel better, and I wasn't under anywhere near the pressure that the officers were under and our junior staff members. As you might imagine for yourselves, if your employer stopped paying you for 44 days, what impact that would have on your finances. I think at a certain level, and they're more than free to speak for themselves, I think that once you go through that, it makes you a little more focused on your finances and how you prepare for something like this, because it's a bit of a social contract, right? We work and we get compensated. Well, that fell through for 6 weeks. I don't think I can safely say that stress is gone. I mean, it was almost a traumatic experience. For some folks it was. They actually ran out of money, and they couldn't buy food. They couldn't get gas. And so, that's on me to make sure that the entire organization knows that we support them, and we'll do everything possible within the constraints that the agency puts on us to make sure that they're taken care of and that they're going to be all right. And at the end of the day, we think of ourselves as part of the Tampa family, and I know that they appreciate what the airport managed to pull together to include what came from the United Way, which is just incredible. And they did the same thing for us several years ago when we had a shutdown. But it's important work. We all took an oath to support and defend the Constitution, and part of that oath is we committed to coming to work every day, regardless of whether we got paid or not. And the officers in this organization did just that. Even though they were worried about their families, their kids, their mortgage, their car payment, they came to work. So they're, in that sense, they're resilient, and I know that they're happy to be getting paid now, and it allows them to go forward into the holiday season doing the important work here, and at the same time knowing that their families are taken care of. That's a great recommendation from the Secretary of Transportation. I hate to say it, but probably once a week, we have a passenger that gets frustrated and loses control and gets into a confrontation, quite frankly, of their own making. And our officers, who are focused on hospitality, we've been training on hospitality and customer service for months now. And they know it's frustrating for passengers, it's stressful, but there's a limit. And even though you might be angry or frustrated, you can't lay that on the officer, and you certainly can't lay hands on an officer, and that's happened. And that's when the airport law enforcement gets engaged and they resolve the issue. We're not law enforcement, we're not jailers. We have an important function in terms of screening for threats to the transportation system, and that has to come first. But we can do that while being hospitality focused and understanding that the passengers are in a stressful situation. So we try to mitigate that so it never gets to the point where the passenger has to be told, sorry, you're not going to be able to fly today. Being disruptive at the checkpoint is actually interference with screening. And on that basis, we're able to tell passengers, you'll have to leave for the day. You can fly again tomorrow or later date.
Around the holidays, you have people who maybe don't fly often, or it's going to be like maybe the first Sunday flight of the year. You already mentioned the weapons, but are there other Thanksgiving-related items or other items that think they bring to security but they actually can't?
I'm going to bring Charles Miller up here for that one. He has a long history with what we called our BDO program, Behavioral Detection Officer. So Charles, why don't you come up and talk about that? And he's my deputy, by the way.
Yeah, Charles Miller, Deputy Federal Security Director for Tampa. It's just pretty simple. You know, you talk about those passengers who don't fly frequently. This is even more foreign to them. So oversized liquids, gels, shampoo, toiletries, these type of things, we see a significant uptick in. And Kirk mentioned it earlier, TSA.gov has a comprehensive prohibited item list. We fully expect everyone to go visit that site. If you run that down, look at those prohibited items, make sure you don't include them, and your carry-on or your check baggage, you're going to sail through the security process.
Anything specific for Thanksgiving though, like grandma's apple pie or something that's unusual?
We've seen it all. And people try to bring food here all the time, and those things, liquids, gels, aerosols, those are the big ones. Those are going to slow you up. We want to focus on the high threat items when passengers are coming through here. So anything that can minimize that disruption and provide the space for the officer to focus on those things that may be more challenging, we want to do that. And so if you can minimize those things, it'll definitely facilitate the screening operation. Sir?
Any more questions?
Do you guys need spellings on any of the names? How about everybody who spoke, if you don't mind coming up just real quick and spelling your name and giving your title as well?
Okay, again, so it's Benjamin Robbins, Robins, one B in Robbins, the Vice President of Operations. I do not.
Kirk Skinner, Kirk Skinner, Federal Security Director for Greater Tampa Bay.
Charles Miller, Charles Miller, Deputy Federal Security Director, Greater Tampa Bay Area.
David Stewart, Stewart, Assistant Federal Security Director for Screening, Greater Tampa Bay.
Again, thanks for coming out. We're going to have a safe, secure Thanksgiving and holiday season. We welcome you to Tampa International, and enjoy your travel. Thanks to the team, the TSA team, for showing up here in Kirk, and to our authority partners who are going to be out here working. So thank you.